Yes, I thought it would be interesting and useful for us to talk about online dating. Now, online dating is a very interesting phenomenon because it went in 1988. People that met through online dating in the States was only 5% of the entire population, or the people that went online itself. Nowadays, sorry, in 2010, it was up to 61%. And there isn't a specific research yet, but there is anecdotal evidence, especially from people in my profession, that during this pandemic, a lot of people, the only chance to meet someone was through online dating. So this number have grown a lot. Another interesting number, it says that states that 38% of people in UK has had access of online dating application in one form or another. Another interesting fact of online dating is that these are the figures that I told you about. Is that a research in 2008 showed that photograph, the picture presented on the online dating, is the strongest predictor in the profile attractiveness. This is one interesting representation of how usually online dating proceeds. And obviously, because is something that is very developed and used, I thought it could be useful to have in mind some strategies that I've put together, not only looking at research, but also by talking to my colleagues faced with a lot of problem within the couple that they've seen forming in this time of a pandemic. So when you are dating online, one suggestion is not to overinterpret what is said. This is a common mistake, and people need to stick to some basic facts, or at least wait before giving one single-minded interpretation of the communication. It is suggested, it has been suggested not to overdo the online dating. So doing it for a specific period of time during the day, or doing it for a period and then putting the online dating on pause. And this is why, because there is a very interesting paradox of the modern dating. On one hand, online dating provides more opportunity to find a romantic partner, but there is something called the rejection mindset. So having continuously access to virtually unlimited potential partners makes people more pessimistic and rejecting. This is the research. This is why I was suggesting not to overdo it, to put some pause between these activities, or to choose to do it for a period of time. The other very important factor in the online dating is safety. There has been an increase of scams and request of money, and it's very difficult to check the information that are given. In fact, a lot of the research talks about misrepresentation. Very rarely people represent themselves as they are. They tend, again, idealize themselves and putting a picture or saying things that are not true. The advice is to try to be yourself as much as you can, and tell stories, interesting stories that can somehow draw a picture of who you really are, because you want to be you in a relationship, meeting the other not as an idealized person, not devaluing yourself, but trying to be as realistic as possible, and also giving the partner or the potential partner an idea of what interests you have. It's suggested to start small and to grow slowly in the communication and in the contact with the other person. The other thing that is suggested is to factor in the pandemic. So understand that sometimes the lockdown and the isolation might produce an effect in the way the people have a need to make a connection and communicate. Always ask yourself, would I be so active on the online dating if I wasn't in lockdown and during the pandemic? Can I give myself a chance to meet somebody when the pandemic is lifted in a different way? What has emerged in a recent study in 2020, online dating self-disclosure has increased. So again, it's very important to decide what type of information you want to share online. Again, it's recommended to keep an open mind and to stay positive, because of this constant swiping and perception that there is unlimited choice. Then in a sense it produces the opposite effect, and there is reported that a lot of people felt more depressed and more rejected after having these unlimited choices and not be able to find a partner. So obviously, if you are not out there, if you don't try the online dating at all, it will be impossible to find anybody, especially nowadays. However, overdoing it can get unwanted effect. Finally, it's recommended to not to do the ghosting exercise, so disappearing without an explanation. There is always a way to say, I'm sorry, I don't think, I see you more as a friend, or I'm seeing another person, or I'm interested in someone else. I don't think, I feel like pursuing this communication further, because generally speaking, what many authors propose is that they don't want, they would like to create a sort of a social ethical dimension of the online dating, and not to do to people what you don't want to experience yourself. So ghosting is something that is not recommended. And finally, just to consider that if you find somebody in this time of the pandemic, and you find somebody online, give yourself time to get to know the person. We usually say that the idealization phase is no longer than 6 months. So before making or taking some extraordinary romantic decision as getting married, just stay put for 6 months, and time will tell.